All right, everyone. It is another day. Blessed and highly favored. I am Marwan Cameron. This is the Civic Second. I'm going to bring on my host here in just a hot second. We've got another great show for you today. So glad that you can join in with us today on this Sunday. Hopefully, you are staying hydrated. There is a heat advisory in Kitsap County for the next 2 days, Sunday and Monday. So govern yourselves accordingly. But it is the Civic Second, so I need to go ahead and bring on my co-host, Jeff Campbell.
Hello.
Jeff, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's beautiful. I didn't realize it was that hot out. Like I said, my place has a lot of very good ventilation. So,
You know,
I
it's
guess it's
75
coming,
degrees and rising.
Yeah.
So, it's coming and it's coming quick for sure. So we got a great show. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good. Thanks. Yeah. There's a lot. We have a lot to talk. It seems like we always have a lot to talk about in a week that goes by. So it's a lot happening, I guess.
Absolutely. So we're going to jump right into it for you. We got a jam-packed show. A lot happened in City Council. Super excited. I've been waiting for today based on what happened on Wednesday. So, let me not spoil it. We're just going to go jump right on into it. Let me go ahead and get ready here. And then we'll be off to the races. Thank you, everyone who is joining us today. If you have not had a chance to watch the city council meeting, and you can watch it on BCAT, you can watch that on the city council's website, and you can also watch it right here on the Conduit. And then Jeff has so thankfully uploaded clips of many of the 2.5 hour meeting to make it more digestible for you, which is fantastic. So today in our agenda, we're going to be going over the mayor's report, the consent agenda, public comments, general business, member statements, public safety meeting, executive session, confiscating homes, which I can't wait to get into that, and upcoming meetings of the week. All right. So let's go ahead and jump right in here. And the first thing is the mayor's report. There's an update on the library and then permitting. So go ahead and talk about this here. You kind of pulled this snippet of Excel here.
Yep. Let me and also I want to just say, so I'm trying to on a regular basis for the city council meetings to pull out specifically the members their comments too. So if people want to hear each member's comment, which I like to listen to what the members are saying, just to see where their heads are at and what their priorities are for the moment. But also I've been pulling out some snippets for housing because that's where my focus is really at. So anyways, but jumping into this and just to run through the consent agenda and the mayor's report pretty quickly to get to the other heavier, more in-depth discussions. So the first thing was they're going to be updating the Bremerton library, which sounds really cool because if you've ever been in there, that's just one of these old I don't know my architecture. Is that Art Deco?
Open concept. I went to school like that in elementary.
Yes, I love. So they're going to be fixing that up and doing some updates, which sound great. And then the permits, which the slide is up there, I guess, is it's where the mayor said, well, this is all the permitting. So from all the I don't know what all they permit, but apparently you have to get permits for everything to build here. And I don't know what, but anyways, so now he's expecting to bring in $180 million this year from these permitting, that's a lot of money. And so my question then, of course, is, well, we really need to pay attention to how that's being spent. And this is where, let me give you the drop of a clip that I didn't include for you here. Sorry. But I think that this is a short clip from Denise Frey that sums up the importance of looking at the budget.
And while I'm queuing that up,
sorry about that.
You're looking at it as, oh no worries. While I'm queuing that up, you're looking at it from how is the money being spent. Having a construction company, one of the things is getting permits for things takes a long time, and some of these permits, some of the policies are stupid, right?
Mm.
Especially when we're trying to address how do we address affordable housing and homelessness. And it's like, well, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. But this is a powerful money generator here for the county. So I've got that queued up here. So let's go ahead and play that here.
Finance. Thank you so much for the goodie bag that I got after.
Oh, can you turn that up a little bit, maybe?
I got it too. Yeah. Believe it or not, I've been pouring through this thing.
Started over.
Shout out to finance. Thank you so much for the goodie bag that I got after. Yeah, Councilmember Chamberlain got it too. Believe it or not, I've been pouring through this thing. I love this stuff. I love budgets because they tell me what the goals and what the priorities are of the city. And it's been really, I won't say it's been fun, but it's been so informative and enjoyable. How's that? And with that, that's it.
All right.
And I just think that's the best way to put it. If you want to know what the goals and priorities of the city are, look at the budget. And the budget is online. This is the 22. So what she was holding up is the 2022 budget. So the budget that we're under right now. And they're kind of using that as a blueprint, I assume, to move forward within the 2023 budget. But that is online, and hopefully, I'm hoping you and I can do a program just like summarizing what are the priorities of that budget, like from a top level.
Done. Sold.
And I think I have another volunteer to go into that with us too. Okay, so
awesome.
That's all I wanted to really say about that is.
Okay.
And then the consent agenda is the next thing, and that they approved about $773,000 worth of stuff. There's nothing really big in there that stands out to me, but again, it's all on. If you want to go watch this part, go and watch it. And also, if you pull up the agenda, the highlighted letters over there, if you click on, so if you download the document and you click on that letter, then you get to all the nitty-gritty details of things. So it's all there if you want to look it up. Okay, on to public comments.
All right.
And this is yeah, this is the really interesting discussion that was had, and you were there. You were part of that discussion, and so I'll let you intro this if you'd like to.
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull this up. One thing I'll say this on the front and the back end. The 2 weeks previous at City Council, myself and one other person, I believe, spoke about homelessness downtown. But this week we had 4 folks, and it actually caused them to respond. So they didn't even say, "I don't even think I got a thank you for your comment." The first week, but with 4 other people, very, very powerful, and you'll see that represented here. So power in numbers, folks. Power in numbers.
For attendees to address the council on any city-related item listed on tonight's agenda.
You may have to turn up a little bit again.
We only ask that you state your name for use in the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. A timer system will be used so everyone is treated equally and fairly. With that, I open public recognition. AIT, you've done something. I guess it's fine.
Also, I wanted to say, and we'll stop it. Just tell me when you want me to stop, Jeff. I thought this was going to come later, and so I had sent out an email and said, "Hey, this is where this public comment comes in letter I," and it was like, "It's time now," and it's like, "Oh man." So you really do have to be ready, Jeff. Do you know? Is it at the very beginning?
So it's kind of weird where they put it now, in my opinion. So they put it, so it's the mayor's report, and they just changed it recently this year. I think it used to be at the very end, but people were like, "Oh, why don't make people sit through all this to give their public?" So they moved it up, but still, so now it's the mayor's report, and then the consensus items and consent items. I'm sorry, and then public comment.
Gotcha.
I would
Okay.
kind of like to see the public comment go first, because I think you should. I don't know, but then I'm biased. I want to. Sometimes I don't want to sit through the whole thing, but
So
anyways,
to
but
note,
so
the
right now
big
it's
note
like
is it's at the almost at the beginning. So be ready. Don't be
it's
late.
towards the beginning. Yes,
Yeah.
I would say it's usually about a half hour into it. So, but yeah, things could go quicker or slower.
Yeah. It was pretty fast. I wasn't ready. And then they'll also allow public comment on specific issues also, right?
Yes, yes. So anything they're voting on, even the consent agenda, there's public comment for that. Even though they vote about them all as a group, and then for every general business item, there's public comment. And I think that's it. And then the public comment we're talking about now is called I forget what it's called, but it's for anything that's not on the agenda. So
Mhm.
if it's something's on the agenda, then they reserve the public comment for during that discussion.
And I brought that up because it's important to note that you can make more than one public comment during a particular meeting. So you've got the open comments for anything that's not on the agenda, and then when they have those agenda items and they open that up, then you could comment on that also. So, I'm learning as I'm, participating in my civic duty. And so it's great to understand it, but we need to share that out because you
I
might have
like it.
seen,
Yeah.
you don't want to feel like, well, I've already made my comment on this, but I really wanted to talk about that too. No, if it's in the agenda, make your comment there and then talk about your piece on the other side. Good morning, Rob. Thank you for joining us today. So let's get back into it there.
Is it supposed to be showing the timer? All right. We're going to recognize Joe Walter.
Well, you might have to turn it up too, especially for public comments.
It'll show the timer when somebody starts talking.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Joe Walter here, and I'm back to talk about the Martin Luther King Jr. block. I think there are other voices who you've heard talk about the toilet and trash problem on that block. I've spoken to some of you about toilets, but it seems that the conversations just go right to the obstacles. We know what the obstacles are, but still we have a responsibility to the health and safety of not just the people who are living behind Sally's, but to people passing through that neighborhood. There's health and safety issues for the entire community that needs to be addressed. And it is our responsibility to overcome the obstacles. The last time I spoke to the mayor about it, I went away saying that I personally was going to go and research how these obstacles have been overcome in other communities, wishing to be helpful. But I spoke too soon. It's just one project too many for me as a community volunteer. COVID closed my business, and what I'm doing to pay my mortgage now is a lot more time consuming than my previous work. There's my elderly mom and my disabled daughter who need my time. And it strikes me that it should not be the responsibility of already time-challenged community volunteers to come up with answers to problems that need a solution found in our community. We started and we're in the middle of organizing a solution-focused meeting with stakeholders. Whatever stakeholders means, people who need toilets, people who enforce toilet rules, people who want to serve others in our community. But I'm tired of, the work of pulling together folks who want to have a meeting about finding solutions. Can you put some staff on this? Can you affirm that this is a problem that you are responsible for and that you're working on? If folks will help and there are ideas, there are solutions, but right now it feels like it's just about political will. And the trash thing, I know you know that there was a crew of volunteers on MLK on Saturday doing a community give back, mostly about food and clothing. But while we were there, we found ourselves picking up a truckload overflowing with trash that would not fit in the dumpster. It's wonderful to supply a dumpster, but not if you don't haul it away. And it's a bad look
to have our community's teenage leaders bagging trash that the city hasn't hauled away. I look forward to working more on this with you and just reminding you that it is your work to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and make a comment there because you made a good one the night of.
I just thought that was such a powerful statement that Joe Walter made, and just the it just struck me, and I've been hearing this a lot this week. Is just that people are tired. People who are really been trying to help and do something about this are getting tired. We need a whole community response. We need a whole city response. Yeah. So, anyways, I thought that was really powerful.
All right, let's play the second one here.
You. Next, Marwan Cameron.
I know that guy.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. I also would like to talk about MLK. As Joe shared, we were down there on Saturday cleaning up around the dumpster. Apparently, Waste Management will dump the dumpster, but will not dump the garbage that is around the dumpster. And as she said, it was a truckload of garbage. So it'd be nice to know when that trash is dumped and can it be emptied more frequently. In regards to the bathrooms, I've been covering these city council meetings for the last month or so. But one thing I would add here too is, take a look at folks' faces as folks are making their public comment. They don't have the greatest of poker faces, and so sometimes how their face looks and what they say isn't congruent. So I just think it's very telling. The other thing is right after we dumped that trash, so that was on a Saturday, that dumpster was removed, and as far as I know, it's still not there. I'm trying to confirm that now. Jeff, have you been down there yesterday? As of 2 days ago, it was not here.
Yeah, it was not there yesterday. There was no.
So it's like, so what happened? First, it's overflowing. You have the community come down and dump it. Come on to a city council meeting and say, hey, just dump it more frequently. You have the members of the community that want to help. The dumpster is removed and it's been gone now for close to a week. So what's going on? I haven't heard much discussion on solutions for downtown, even if they're temporary. Looking at the cost of 1 or 2 porta potties and an extra cleaning might run anywhere between $14,000 and $22,000 for a year. And to me, this seems like a good use of money, as many down there do not want those that are homeless to use their restrooms, and so they're not welcome there. Today, there was a gentleman who was incontinent and had to sit in his own feces and wait for an ambulance to come, which took a long time for that to happen. So I'm not sure what we're doing with our citizens and our neighbors downtown, but these things need to be addressed, especially when we hear things of, this golf course is getting funding and this park is getting funding. The mayor, you expressed earlier about how this park, those folks deserve a bathroom. And while I agree with that, the folks that are down on MLK also need a bathroom. So this doesn't seem like a heavy lift. As you know, there are many of us in the community that have organizations or part of organizations that are willing to come alongside and support through volunteer, as we were again picking up trash and passing out water during the heat wave. And we continue to stand ready to be a partner with the city to serve these folks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any thoughts there?
Yeah, no, that was all good. I tell you, this whole comment period just choked me up, to tell you the truth, with everybody. It was just all the way through. I barely got through mine, but and yeah, it was interesting. It was good, I think.
Well, you're up next.
Oh no.
Thanks. Yeah, unfortunately, the trash can that they were talking about has now been taken away completely again. And I just wanted to add to that it was a community of my unhoused neighbors down there that have spent weeks organizing to pick up the trash because they think, the people say we don't pick up our trash, and so they've all been pitching in everything they can to pick up the trash there. And then they pile it up and nobody else. So anyways, just thank you for the community members for hauling away that garbage. But I agree with the first call that it's the city's responsibility and it's something we can do. And providing toilets and trash is a basic community service, I think. Maybe you can just have the Parks Department extend their area to include that area. I don't know, but thank you. Thank you.
All right, and so what I want to add there, and I thought that you had a really good point, building off of what Joe had mentioned, was that it is the city's responsibility, right? $200 million budget. You have these folks downtown that need services. It is their responsibility.
Yeah, and I think there's some clues now. Now that I've done the clips and I get to go back and listen to things, I think there's some pretty big clues in the mayor's stance and in what the chief of police say and the mayor say, and in their mind. Well, maybe I should let you get through, but it appears to me that they think it's not the city's problem. This is a problem of it's the Salvation Army's problem. It's Monica's problems. It's Diamond Parking's problem. This is a private property problem. This has got nothing to do with them.
Wow.
But that's my interpretation of what but we can move on to, you can see what you see.
All right, so we got another one here. I think this is Jordan coming up.
Jordan. I love Jordan. Yeah.
Next is Jordan. If you could state your name for the record.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Hey, sorry about that. My name is Jordan Keller, and thank you all for having this. Good evening to you. You can still hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, you're usually just okay. I kind of wait for responses sometimes. So I guess I'll just start ranting then, sort of.
And don't be afraid. You've never done it before. You don't know what to expect. It's like, so do you tell me go? What's supposed to happen, right? And what happens is it's not their fault. You get into this, whatever you're doing in your life, right? You kind of get used to doing it and you just assume that everyone else knows what the protocol is and they don't. So don't worry about it. Jordan did just fine. Just make sure that your voice is heard. That's the most important thing.
I'm inspired by what they've said before me about addressing the homelessness situation and the behaviors that occur around that. And I think it would be easy to see why investing in at least the small things of maybe getting a job and getting somebody paid to clean up that area or things like that, so you're getting two birds sort of thing. Real quickly though, as for the behaviors and the reason we have all the trash piling up, and there's sometimes it's dangerous because there might be a drug, paraphernalia and stuff. So, in order to reduce those behaviors, we need to approach with showing them that we're going to be there. I mean, a toilet for sure. We should set up where this group, you and us, we begin exchanging emails as well about how we can invest, even out of pocket or out of a volunteer, a more official volunteer, between us, because we need to show them. And look, these people are exhausted, and they're doing it. You see it all the time. You hear them. We at least need to coordinate together to reduce this kind of thankless or rewardless volunteer work that's draining them. So let's get some emails going or something like that to coordinate on at least a toilet, because it just little gestures of empathy. I sat with gentlemen there who have beautiful art, and I should share it next time. And he cried just because we were grateful to see his art. So if you give just a little bit of kindness, it'll be such a huge investment. Such a huge investment in behavior, see, because I guarantee you, was much less likely to need to abuse drugs or anything like that after that. Huge, if you want to get scientific, about a dose of endorphin, right? But the small things, the toilet and stuff, my God, it's so small. And we can talk about how we can help with that. But that would be a huge gesture. I guarantee some of them would cry, knowing that you guys are listening.
Wow. That was,
Okay.
so Jordan so Jordan was down there with us a couple weeks ago, just hanging out and talking to people and getting to know people on MLK. And he met this artist down there who does this amazing art. But the really cool part of that story is that artist is now in Pendleton Place and is safe and is able to focus on his art. And so I just want to add that as a really a cool part of the story.
No, that's great. And what I loved about Jordan is the three of us were advocating, right? But Jordan really spoke to the humanity of it. I mean, like directly. Um, so I love that, and that's why all of our voices are so necessary and powerful.
Absolutely.
Right. Let's continue on here. So now these were the 4 commenters. It'd be great if we could double that in the next 2 weeks to 8, or even beat that. But we'll grow slowly.
Okay, thank you, Jordan.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having this public meeting, because it's so vital that people have communication with their leaders. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm not seeing anyone else for public recognition. So with that, I am going to close public. As you, Mayor, I'm going to close public recognition. And actually, a lot of what we just heard, Mayor Wheeler and I spoke about just yesterday. And there are, I will say, it's not quite as simple.
Now, what I do appreciate is they actually took quite a bit of time. I was surprised that they went so far in depth into this, especially since they really had nothing to say. But thank you to the first person, and we're looking into it or something like that, and then didn't even respond to me. But now they really kind of go into it. So again, a testament to the power in your voice. So please use your voice.
And there are some issues, and we've got to figure out a way to navigate those. So that I will turn it over to Mayor Wheeler.
Thank you, Council President. And I thought it was important for anybody in the viewing audience to know that the city of Bremerton has dedicated 2 full-time FTEs to patrol the entire downtown area twice a day to pick up all trash in public areas and to notify trash on.
Well, and my thing is this, 2 full-time FTEs, if that's the case and they're coming down twice a day, how is the trash mushroomed over the can and all around? I just don't understand that.
Because and I wish he would just be straightforward and just be, but he's talking about the public area. So he's talking strictly about the 2 small patches of grass on MLK Boulevard. That's all he's talking about for those 2 full-time FTEs. The rest is considered public property, I think he eventually gets to, like, that's Diamond Parking problem. We have no, anyways, you can go on.
Wow. Private property that is a violation of our codes.
Yeah, see.
We've got to clean it up. And so, we're on it together. We have dedicated that Monday through Friday. And so
if they only have to clean the patch up, that spirit of the law and the letter of the law, it drives me crazy. It's so slick how they can get out of their responsibilities.
And last year, and I just remembered this, last year I asked them, put the garbage cans right there on that public land. Put
I was
garbage
just getting
cans.
ready to say
Yeah,
that.
okay. How about we try
Fixed.
that? Thank you.
Fixed. So simple. That's just what I was thinking. Wow.
I thought it was important to at least share that. The council, I'll be coming to you again to secure some funding for the Stand By Me program to support security at the Salvation Army. And the Stand By Me is a nonprofit, Community Health Services is the main sponsor of this program that helps people who are trying to work their way out of mental health issues, addiction, and other issues that are associated, all the way to housing and even up to being productive again as far as a job. And so what that allows us to do is also, as we have bathroom, with that, the bathroom is available.
So I wanted to ask you, Jeff, because you've been watching these longer than I have. Have you heard of this Stand By Me before? Has he talked about this before? Because I've never heard of this organization or group.
Yeah, I don't know who that. I don't know anything about them. He seems to come back to security. We're going to put more security down there, which, unless they're carrying porta potties, I don't know how that's helping with the toilet problem. But, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the Stand By Me program at all. Personally, I don't know what that is.
A clean, functioning bathroom that is monitored, along with the hygiene center. Of course, folks, if they need the shelter, it is there. And this is low barrier, very low. All of it's low barrier, so not a lot of restrictions. Other than you have to, you can't commit a felony. You have to, you can't deal drugs, and there's certain things to maintain that privilege, low barrier. So,
again, it's like.
Well, I'm in favor of no barrier toilets. I mean, honestly, no barrier toilets. If you got to use the toilet, you get to use the toilet.
Well, it's just when I think about ecosystems, right? It's like, all right, so wait a minute. It's okay if you're doing the drugs, but if you're a drug dealer, you can't use the bathroom. It's like, well, you kind of have to have both elements to exist for that to happen. I don't know. It's just really, really interesting. Or, decriminalizing prostitution, but you're still arresting Johns. It's like,
or if you have incontinence, then yeah, that's that goes over the barrier too, apparently.
make it make sense.
Yeah. Anyways,
but
yeah.
What's interesting too is he turned this into a criminal issue.
Always,
really quickly.
Yeah.
Like this took a left turn.
Yep.
It was bizarre. It's like we're trying to figure out how to keep it clean and get people access to a restroom, and it was like, well, felons and drug dealers, we don't want them to be. It was like, what happened?
Right.
So, I'm happy to share with you my experiences with a private owner tried to do these portable outhouses and what happened with that experiment. To any one of you who wants to meet to discuss that. And
yes.
And so we will keep working though to ensure that we have a low barrier access to bathrooms, and of course the parks. When we talk about,
and that's the thing, I think they have all this discretionary money, which I think you're going to talk about later, and when we hear it, I'm going to make an assumption here, so maybe I will stand corrected once we do meet with the mayor. But if private organizations have tried bathrooms, did the city come alongside and provide support so that people weren't sleeping in the bathrooms or doing drugs in the bathrooms or whatever the case may be that he alludes to here in a minute? Or did the private companies try it and there was no support around it and it was like, okay, this doesn't work, and so they have to chuck it, right? So it's like everyone needs to be part of the solution.
Well, and along those lines, I really think that conversation needs to be a public conversation. I think the mayor administration always want to push things to let's have a friendly chat over coffee, and I don't think that helps. I think that I don't know why, but if you could get him to come on and have a public discussion about all these issues, I think that would be huge. And now, you're a great host. We won't be mean to him. We'll let him. I don't know. Anyways, I think that discussion needs to happen. So I hope he's honest and wanting to have that discussion openly.
So once he said this here, and then he'll talk about a roundtable discussion, I actually sent him an email on live next to him making his statement, so everyone could see me sending the letter. And I did get a response that it went to the mayor. I have not gotten a response yet, but they're pretty. I've never not been responded to, so to be super fair to them.
Parks, and finally getting one decent one at Lulu had, and that just means that they're now out there with Kiwanis Park, Evergreen Park, Blueberry Park, and other parks in our area. Thank you, Council President.
And that was another thing, right? So the week before, he was talking about, we played a video for you, those people at that park need a bathroom. And I was like, well, the people that are experiencing homelessness down on M.O. King need a bathroom. It's like, there you go. There's your words, buddy. So then, it's like, all right, here we go. I'm going to defend the parks. And it's like, yeah, great. You need to bring all the parks up. That wasn't my point, right? Yes, that park needs bathrooms, but you also need to support the people downtown, right? It's the issue, the cards that we've been dealt as a community. And so it's up to us and definitely up to the city to solve that issue.
Thank you, Vice President Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mayor Wheeler, for the update. I would love to meet with you to the data surrounding portable restrooms, and also to find out the status about I believe the Mission Gospel had a couple of portable shower units, or maybe that's outdated information, but they're not being used right now. But I would love to set up a time to meet with you to discuss that. I think the real key time where bathrooms aren't accessible is the middle of the night. And having cleaned up alleys with needles and poop myself, and having worked at the actual low barrier shelter, it is a vital need for our community. Thank you so much for the work you're doing.
And
I also wanted to say I really appreciate Jennifer there, and I appreciate folks that run for public office that do those types of service jobs, so they actually understand the issue of more than someone just kind of looking at it at 30,000 feet level, right? I appreciate that from her.
And I felt like the council really heard people. I mean, they were like really responding to the issue instead of, I don't know. I was really impressed by the conversation with the council.
Possibly do, and just so we don't leave the public and hanging while we're all having these private conversations, I can share with you as a Salvation Army member, we offer portable bathrooms outside in the parking lot before we had a full-time shelter established. And we did that as the Salvation Army's tries to do, is to be humane for the folks who didn't have shelter. And so the experiences we had were...
That's an interesting phrase. They try to be humane, but I'll continue.
There were many, and they weren't good. The bathrooms were vandalized. They required 24-hour day monitoring. There was drug.
They've got security guards that they have down there, right? They've got 24-hour monitoring already, so that shouldn't be a problem. Vandalization is going to happen regardless, graffiti, whatever the case may be. Again, low barrier. You have to, work with what you're working with, right? This is part of what comes with it. So it's like, oh, we're going to put these bathrooms down here, and folks are going to treat it like a 5-star hotel. That's not what it is. Like, we got to be realistic here.
Drug abuse. There was believe it or not, sometimes people would lock themselves in for the night.
Yes, I would believe it. I would like to sleep where the wind and the rain and everything, the snow isn't falling on me or blowing across me because it's cold as hell outside. I've got a sweater on when it's 68, degrees. It's falling down, and we don't open up the cold winter shelters, I think, until it hits 30 or 28 or something like that. 33, 34 feels like 28. 40 feels like yes, I would rather sleep in a shitty outhouse that smells than to be outside in the elements in a doorway or on the back of Monica's with a, like, believe it or not. Yeah, I believe it.
When they were required to be serviced once a week, They weren't in good shape. The companies do need to have a bathroom returned to the.
Just like the dumpster. So if they're being serviced once a week and they're breaking down too quickly because the overflow of usage, then you need to service them twice a week or 3 times a week. The dumpster out there may need to be dumped twice a week, right? You've got what, 30, 40 people out there? Besides the fact that people that drive, in the middle of the night and they see a dumpster, so they want to dump off their garbage because it's, they don't have to pay to go out to the dump site, right? I mean, this isn't all on them. But again, this is the situation that you have to address.
Them so they can clean it and return it back out to another group so they can make money. These bathrooms were not serviceable in some cases. Sometimes it could be meth.
Again, the capitalist attitude, right? It's like, well, it's all business. These guys got to make money, you understand? Right? It's like, so then how about this? How about you purchase the outhouses and then just pay for them to service them, right? If they can't take them back and then take them out to another, location so they can make money. It's like solution oriented is just look at it through a lens of what's the solution?
So needles being dumped into multiple and large amounts of needles being dumped into the bottom of the bathroom, into the outhouse. Processing those out became problematic. And so these are just workers trying to go get a bathroom and take it back so they can clean it and get a new one in service.
The workers are the victims. Like, it's just the workers trying to service it and get it back out there. It's like, it's just the lens and the compassion and the empathy is just bizarre what direction it's looked into. Yes, is that an issue that needs to be addressed? Yes, but ultimately, folks downtown need a bathroom in this area. This is, how do we solve that problem? Do we need to commission Honey Bucket and some of these other folks to make some kind of a modification to I think the wastewater is at the bottom and they empty it out to create it where it's got a bigger opening so the needles can be poured out, they can be disposed of. Do they need training or certification? Do they need to charge an extra fee? Like, what's the solution here instead of saying, they need to make their money, and so, that just doesn't work. So,
and there's a group just tangentially that's been pushing to really get needle disposal, I don't know what you call them, disposal things, like all over, like to normalize it, because even for people with diabetes and to just really have them all over.
Good point. Yeah, you might have diabetics that are, those are some of their needles. They may not all be drug needles, right? And you could put one of those boxes, inside the Honey Bucket. You know what I mean? So they're probably more likely to drop the needle in the receptacle than to put it down the toilet if there's one inside. Again, solution oriented. Yeah. And one more thing before I start, he was saying, in our private conversations, you're absolutely right. If these conversations were public, then the things that have already been tried, then the community doesn't say, well, how come you haven't done this? And it's like, well, we have, but you haven't told anyone that you've done this or how you've done it, or said, hey, you know what, we're trying this isn't working. Does anyone have any ideas or solutions on how we can continue to do this or modify it so it can work? Like you said, private conversations. Oh, we tried, it didn't work, and we just chucked that idea and we're not going back to it.
It didn't fit a business model. So what you're proposing now is, and then again,
how do we make homelessness fit a business model?
Oh, you gotta laugh because you cry, right?
Yeah, and this isn't just a city thing, right? This is our country in general. Healthcare for all, affordable housing, on and on it goes, right? So it's like, hey, this doesn't fit a business model. How can we make this a capitalistic success here for us and profit?
We're proposing that somehow this would have to be either a private or a government-led operation to monitor a 24/7.
How about both? How about partnership? Not either or. How about both? You know, you put some skin in the game. The other organizations put some skin in the game. Maybe the county goes after some grants, to help support that. Pull it into, I don't know how, like you said, the laws with the parks and whatnot. So it's just that strip. But you put the dumpster on the strip, then all of a sudden, now you've got your 2 FTEs can take care of a lot of those issues.
Monitor behaviors, monitor the whole thing in an area that I'm not sure. So all of these things, what I'm trying to say is fortunately, we have a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week low barrier shelter with minimum requirements to maintain access.
So, and I think I was saying this during the break. Folks get kicked out for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, or get a lifetime ban, right? And so again, your low barrier, it is the lowest barrier in the city, in the county. At the same time, it low barrier kind of doesn't really do it justice when you consider the mental health, the alcoholism or the drug addiction, and just the fact that you're homeless, right? And not saying that everyone is under those umbrellas, but for the ones that are, and there is a good portion, okay, so it's going to be hard to maintain the policies and procedures and act right the entire time where I'm not going to be put out. So once I'm out, where do I go? Where do I go? What do I do?
Requirements that I believe we would probably have the same standard for. You wouldn't be able to use our bathrooms, government bathrooms, for drugs, criminal activity. You couldn't vandalize them, and it would be the same standards we would require as a city government. And plus, I don't know who we get to do that right now. And I see we get.
May I just follow up? I apologize. I just had what I know about the Salvation Army is that they do lock their doors at 9. So they are a shelter that is, and I believe near capacity, although it's summertime, so maybe they're not.
And again, I hate to keep stopping it, but this is his second term. And this has been an issue. He ran against Patty Lent, so he knows what the issues were, then you're in your second term. So this is ongoing. How do you not know that the shelter closes at 9 and folks can't come in and use that restroom any longer, right? So again, shout out to Jennifer for, again, volunteering, in those spaces and understanding how things work, right?
Well, he is
This
also
the first time.
the mayor is also on the board of directors of Salvation Army.
So again, then even more so, then how do you not know that they close the doors at 9?
Yeah. He knows.
At capacity now.
They're not at
And
capacity.
so, they're not at capacity now?
No, they're not.
No, they're not at capacity, but if you've been kicked out because you're having a mental health episode, then the bathroom is closed to you after 9. If you're in your addiction and you do something based on your addiction that gets you kicked out, then the bathroom isn't there for you to use after 9. So it's like, on the one hand, this is what drives me crazy. It's like, all right, we need to, housing first and meet people where they're at. And, we're decriminalizing, addiction and everything else. But then we make those services contingent upon if you can overcome your addictions or your mental health to have access to the low barrier resources. I was like, huh?
And so it is a 24/7. However, they don't offer showers to everybody that comes in, and the bathrooms aren't accessible if you're outside, only if you're inside. But I definitely respect the barriers that you're talking about, and it is a large problem to work through. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to answer real quick, the condition for having a bathroom after 7 p.m. and having one until 7 a.m. the next morning is you do have to go into the shelter to, rather than sleeping outside. And then
Again, but if you've been kicked out What are you supposed to do? And during COVID, right, there are folks, because we provided transportation, we never shut down, and Salvation Army is one of our customers. During COVID, there were folks in the early days that didn't want to stay in the shelter because no one knew what COVID was. And it was like, it's better for me to be outside in the cold than to be in here with 70 people stacked up like cordwood, all inhaling and exhaling the same air. No, we had a ton of folks that were like that. So it's like, okay, yes, I want to be sheltered, but the CDC, no one else knows that this is safe. It's too dangerous. My choice is it's not really a choice. I gotta stay out, otherwise I might get COVID and it could kill me. I mean, oh man.
Same barriers are required, same low barrier rules, are they're still the same.
All right. Thank you, Vice President. Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Coughlin.
Cool. Thank you, Council President. Yeah, I just wanted to, recognize this is in my district. I've talked to a lot of folks down there, individuals and business owners. I'm definitely aware of these issues, and I thank the members who spoke up tonight and for the help they're doing in the community. And yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd love to be a part of that conversation with that in my district and look how I can contribute. So thank you for walking us through some options.
Yeah,
I wish he articulated a little bit more aligned with Jennifer there. It's like kind of look forward to this. Doesn't sound like he's taking lead on this, right? This is in my district. He should be advocating for this, and Jennifer seems to be doing more advocation. It's like, hey, I look forward to having these discussions, right? It's like, well, these are your constituents, and so if you've been downtown and you talk to them, business owners and folks experiencing homelessness alike, advocation as you are who you've been voted into the office for that district would be important, right?
I would be happy to attend that also. So maybe we could set something up. Not to overwhelm you or anything, but to really see what we can come up with for ideas and solutions. All right, Councilmember Mockler, lose track of what week it is.
Not to worry. I too would like to be part of that conversation. I found it's easy to forget how a person can become a non-person to so many. And yeah, so I would definitely like to be a part of that. I think that showing respect to the people who are living along MLK, that'd be a good thing. I'd like to be part of that conversation. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Fry.
I know you're disappointed that I raised my hand. I know.
That's a very bizarre statement. Is it because of time they want to move on?
Yeah. Oh, I think she was just trying. She's just joking. I don't know. I wouldn't read too much into that one, but I don't know. Yeah, who knows?
I don't know. I've watched a few of these. I'm just like, it's kind of a weird thing. He does seem to like, come on, let's kind of get through this. We've spent a lot of time on this. So,
but she's
watching
all in
the
for the conversation too, I think, if I remember.
Yeah, I believe so. And this is why diversity of thought is so important, right? Clearly, the city council, many of these folks are new, but the old city council wasn't able to solve this problem. Nationwide, we haven't solved this problem, so it's going to take voices from the community, all of the community, even the people experiencing it, to come up with the solutions.
Especially the people experiencing it, in my opinion. But yes.
Yeah, and the last thing you say is that I'll say before I play again is understand I can be very critical. These folks are in office, so this is what they signed on for. At the same time, I can stay respectful. So when I speak to the mayor, I say Mayor Wheeler. One, that's how I was raised, right? So I may be ready to what do they call spitting, whatever. I'm hot, I'm mad, I'm angry, but I will also keep my respect. So that's important. If you're not able to do that, folks will get turned off and not be vested in finding solutions. So we want folks to, get in, roll their sleeves up, figure this thing out, try something. If that doesn't work, then try something else and involve the whole community to find the solution. So, and one other thing, MO King is just one of the most visible spots. There are pockets of folks experiencing homelessness all over Kitsap County, right? And so I just want to let everyone know we're aware that we're advocating for one spot of many.
But I have to, I think we can all agree. We hope that we don't ever have to say, believe it or not, people lock themselves in these porta potties to spend the night. That is such a sad reality, but one that we really shouldn't wonder why. It's desperation. So we've got huge problems. Obviously we do. It sounds like study session material or whatever. I always go to community partners, not just Salvation Army, can Kitsap, KRC, help at all. So, what do we do? I agree, we got to find a solution. It can't just be, well, when they did this, it was terrible what we found, and we've got to find a solution because people are, having to sleep in bathrooms is not a reason why not to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, absolutely.
Thank you.
And I'll just close by saying if we were to offer, and you've done a wonderful job. I don't know of any other councils that have supported the funding that requires the partnerships that we've entered into. I mean, with KCR, the Salvation Army, Peninsula Community Health Services, Kitsap Mental Health, Bremerton Housing Authority. I don't know of another city that has done what we've done. And it's a tremendous amount of work and resources. And the churches around here stepping up.
Wait, what churches are stepping up first
Well,
off?
and also, so he's saying that everybody in the community except for the city government is stepping up, if I'm getting this right. But go ahead.
I was like, what churches? Tell me what churches are stepping up and what exactly are they doing?
And there are a lot of community. There are a lot of people who are pitching in there and doing and I think that's one of the cool things about Bremerton is that historically it's been a core of people who have been providing care. So all these people that he's mentioning, they are organizations that seem to have been drawn to Bremerton, and it's like, why don't we build on that instead of, I don't know, I just feel like we could, that whole community of care, like, let's just double down on that, right? Because maybe that's who we are as a city. Maybe that'll somehow fit into a business model at some point. Well, because it'll draw in more professionals. I guess I can make that argument. But
the challenge with that is this, and Mark, shout out to Mark. He was trying to explain this, and it didn't come out in the right way. Where he was talking about how nonprofits just kind of end up sharing the same pot of money. But during COVID, who was it that mentioned? Oh, it was Joe, who was saying that she had to shutter her business during COVID, right? So many lost their businesses, and many of these nonprofits and religious organizations weren't able to help at the level that they could help. We used to be able to refer folks to churches to get gas cards and pay for hotels and motels. And they're like, and we don't have it, right? So they're at their limit in regards to how much they can provide and help. They're still trying to do what they can, but you're juggling these balls and they're just getting lower and lower to the ground. And then we have all of these, fundraising opportunities and things that we have going on. Like, okay, give $250 to this organization, and then this organization puts on an event, they're asking for $250. And so we're just kind of passing the same, we're just passing the plate around ourselves, and the money needs to come in from the outside. And it's like, so it makes it pretty difficult to find solutions. So it's like, oh, we're all in the business to keep the status quo and not really make the change, right? That's really kind of a cynical thought on that.
Interesting.
So unbelievable amount of human capital invested to support our most vulnerable. At the end of the day, we cannot make somebody against their will access these services. We can't do that. There's not a law, and I don't even know what a law would look like, and that's way beyond my pay grade and what I do. All I can do is continue to offer more resources, working with you, and make them as available as possible, all the way to multiplying our navigator program so when we meet people in crisis, or adding the mobile opiate addiction and mental health primary care treatment clinic, the mobile clinic, when our first responder fire departments interact with folks who could use these services, helping them right as they're in their lowest point, either going to the emergency room or jail. And so we're doing that. We've done that, we're doing it. We are there every day doing this. And so if you have other ideas and solutions and want to talk about this in a roundtable forum, how we can expand the programs, because we have capacity in all the programs I've just defined. They have capacity. They can take on more clients, more people. Okay, so when we talk about
but the thing is that they can't, right? I have KCR that comes on every Wednesday. They've had to cut off the eviction assistance program because right now they've got to help, all the folks that are on the wait list, and they don't know if the program is going to come back, right? No, they are at capacity, right? These people are still outside.
And I don't understand. Well, I do understand that. So the mayor, and you'll hear from the police chief too. Well, they have their view, but it's this emphasis on force and violence, really, and being able to make people do things, as opposed to persuasion and discussion and like working together to find solutions, like talking to the drug addicts, like really talking to them, and that all approach, as opposed to, no, you have to force people to do the right thing. And I think I just see that really playing out in our city right now, which is, I think, the right discussion, actually.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Let me go ahead and continue this. I was going to look up something and share it.
What we can do, look at what we're doing, and then we ask ourselves, are we successful? Are we reaching all these people? And then you have to ask yourself why. We have to ask ourselves that. And I'll leave it at that, Council.
Right, thank you. Yeah, we have to, obviously there's interest. I don't think there's a single person on council who doesn't want us to come up with a solution, but it has to be a workable solution. Vice President Chamberlain and I can have a little conversation, because we run the risk now of quorum, and should this go to public.
Can you explain that? How running the risk of quorum, because they're talking about it now. Like this is the part that I don't understand.
And so if they have more than 3 or 4, more than 2, I don't know. If they have so many people, if they can only have so many city council members talking about an issue at a time. Otherwise, they have to come over under open meeting laws. But
isn't it open now? Like,
well,
they're in a scheduled meeting.
But so when they're talking about this, they're like, well, like Jennifer and I will talk about it. So, because that doesn't have to be an open meeting. That can be just a private conversation. And so, but I don't know why they don't just make everything an open conversation myself. I think that, well, there's probably, I don't, but for this specifically, there's so much interest that open up the conversation. Let's have a full community-wide conversation about this stuff. I thank you to Michael and Jennifer for trying to come up with a solution, but that's putting an awful lot on those two people. So I don't know. I think so that's the quorum thing, and I don't I know that it's to protect open meetings so that you don't have, but it seems like I don't know. I've been feeling like it restricts speech more than it I don't know. We need another question that would be great for the city attorney to come in and explain. If you could ever get here on the show, I think there's a whole bunch of stuff that for her to explain from like her perspective, because I don't understand it that much. But
So go ahead, finish your thought there.
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wanted to bring up the 2022 point in time count, and you could just Google Kitsap County point in time count, and this will come right up to it. And so this is really important. One, you can see in 2022, numbers are higher than they were in 2020 and 2019, 21. They also, I thought, did not do one last year in 21. That's why you have that asterisk there, right? But let's look at the survey collected here. Collected information about the last city of permanent residents. 80% were here in Kitsap County. Now let's look at the causes of homelessness. Health issues and mental health. Almost 70%. Not criminal, not drugs and alcohol. Substance abuse is 25%. Loss of work, unable to work, 58%. Eviction, loss of housing, 40%. Family conflict, 35%. When you're looking at and you're having this conversation, you're saying, okay, well, there's vandals and there's drug dealers and there's this criminal element. The majority, based on their own survey, is not a criminal element. And why this is so important is, again, being part of these systems and helping with eviction assistance. People that couldn't pay their rent during COVID. This was happening before COVID, but during COVID, and helping them, well, evictions are here. And now the money, that spigot is off. They can't take any more folks. So now, if you experience a job loss or you're unable to work and you can't pay your rent and you're evicted, because that's third on the list, then you may end up homeless, especially if you don't have friends and family that you can live with, because it puts them at risk. They can't take it on, right? They're going to get evicted because you're not supposed to be on the lease. Or maybe you don't have family, like I don't. So then what do? You find yourself in this scenario. There's no way to get out of it. You can't make a livable wage. You need first, last, and deposit, but you've been evicted or you lost your job and that caused the eviction. You already are suffering from mental health because, we're in America. It could be anything, right? And our health issues because, we're also a very sick country. And so now you're experiencing homelessness. You've been trying to hold on. You went from being housed to downsizing, which is why all these storage units are being shot up all over Kitsap County, right? Because people have to have a place to put their things as they downsize and go somewhere else. They can't stay there. They move in with a friend or family member. They end up in their car if they have one. Then they end up in a shelter, right? And some people go from 100 to 0 immediately.
Yeah, and on top of that, as we're going to see at the end of this the program today, now they're going after what they're calling nuisance properties. So poor people who aren't keeping up on their yard work. I don't know. Actually, so now it's the next rung, right? It's the next rung of people who are on a fixed income and can't keep up with stuff, and for whatever reason. And so now that whole wave is going to come next. It's just, who's next? Maybe you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so now, if you find yourself sleeping in your car for 3 to 6 months, and then that doesn't work anymore, right? You're in the RV park and they tell you got to get up out of there. Your mental health is declining, right? Not being able to provide for yourself is a hit to your mental health, is a hit to your physical health. You're sleeping in your car, right? You're not laying out, right? You're doing damage to your body over a sustained amount of time. Oh, you have kids and you're in that situation, right? The guilt and the feelings of not being able to provide for your kids. Oh yeah, mental health issues are continuing. Oh, you might self-medicate with drugs or alcohol. Oh, very understandable, right? If that's even the case, because everyone there, again, substance use, only 25% aren't abusing drugs and alcohol. Just really important to point that out. Here are the numbers.
Yes. So to get us back to Martin Luther King Avenue, or way, the next clip, if you want to move on, if you're ready to move on.
Yeah, no, I do. I just got to pull it up.
Okay. It's the next clip is the Tom Wolfe clip, and this one is really kind of getting to the bottom line, I think, of what the city government's position is on MLK Way, and again, it is that, in my interpretation, that it's private property, and it's, well, you can play the clip. I think it's pretty short.
Yeah, it is. Let me just finish this up because
sure.
Dennehy really says some powerful words here at the end.
Yeah,
and
that's what I really.
Oh,
yeah, I was going to do that after the mayor's clip, but yeah, that one, or you can just go straight to that one, actually, if
you want to wait, because it's his turn next. You want to wait?
Either one, yes. I was going to play both. I was going to play both of those too. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. We go to the next one. It's powerful.
Yeah.
All right, so we're changing subjects now because this is the Chief Wolf.
But it still has to do with that homeless area, because this is him specifically speaking to that parking lot.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Sorry.
Times, some of it is too is, we keep telling people is everybody wants your police department to be their private security, and it doesn't work that way. They, as you know, you get these complaints as a council person. Well, why don't the police come and do this for my private property? And it's like, well, that's not what we're here for, and there's not enough of us to do it. If your business is having this problem, hire private security. And like Diamond Parking, we got into it with one of them recently, and it was, well, that's a service that the city just doesn't provide. But I know in Seattle for a fact that you have security people that work in your parking lots. Why don't you hire them here also? If you want that kind of atmosphere in your parking lot for your customers, then provide it. But it's not the city that's footing that bill. So that's something that we encourage people to is, you need more security.
And so that's speaking directly, I'm pretty sure, towards the block that we're talking about at MLK. And so their stance is hire yourself some professional thugs to run people off. Is my interpretation. But yeah, but to leave this on a positive, this conversation on a positive note, which I really came away from this feeling a little hopeful. It's Dennehy's statement, I think. So the mayor's position is pretty much law and order, as we said, but I think Dennehy points out something really important here. Yeah.
Safety, or should this be a separate, some time on upcoming? Oops. So we'll have to fill it out and figure out how it fits. Again, our role is to fund things or to make legislation, and so this might be just some creative brainstorming with the mayor to see if we have some ideas that could help with some of the obstacles of providing some of this. And I have some in my head already. So with that being said, we are going to move on to general business.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So Dennehy's.
Oh, you cut that piece out?
Yeah, well, it was actually during his during his time. So after that conversation, some of the members spoke during their own personal time, additionally on the subject of MLK. And you can go watch those. Jennifer had really good statements, but I didn't include all those here. But the Dennehy one, I think, was a pretty good summary of. And this is from the first part of his statement that was during his member time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we can try to find it before it ends, right, but yeah, it was really powerful.
Well, isn't it right? It's right there. It's that link right there at the bottom of that page you're showing.
Oh, okay. Then it's coming up then.
Okay.
Because I have that link. So I'm just going on them in order. So the next one is the BCC Law and Order Bremerton clip. That is.
Oh, yeah. No, do the. Here, I'll drop this.
Skip to that one. I got it. It's here. Let me turn that up.
Thank you, President Goodnow. I just want to echo everybody basically on the council. there are, I think the statistic right now is 530 or 540,000 people that are houseless in the United States right now. This is a very large, complex issue that has to do with wealth inequality, that has to do with mental health services, that has to do with drug epidemics. It's housing shortages. It's very, very complex. And what gives me hope in I guess 4 or 5 years where my hope has kind of dwindled a little bit is that we have community members coming here not to say we don't want to see these folks, get them off our streets, lock them up, which many municipalities used to do. I lived in New Orleans and you didn't see homeless, and that was because they were all sitting in Orleans Parish Prison for trespass and loitering laws that are deeply, deeply inhumane. And the Ninth Circuit finally recognized that and said, "Hey, this is a form of cruel and unusual punishment. These are folks that are suffering from economic and mental health issues." So it's just really heartening, and I just want to express my sincere appreciation that the mayor wants to address this, the council wants to address this, community members want to address this, and it's not let's incarcerate, it's how do we help these folks as much as possible. I think it was towards the end of last year, I was fortunate enough to get a tour of the Salvation Army by Captain Dana, I believe her name was. Okay, Mary, I know you're on the board, and it was just also really, really profound to go and see the showers, to see like the very large kitchen, the rooms of winter coats and sleeping bags, and the fact that so many community resources have been poured in, but also the partnership that we've helped form with security and mental health services. So I know it's very frustrating, and I think that a lot of people, just including myself, are paralyzed with what we've seen happen in this country to cause so many of our fellow citizens to be houseless. But I'm just really encouraged that we all want to do something, and that's not just sweep the problem away and continue the systemic injustices. So I just want to say that. I also want to give, switching the subject, District 4 recently has been.
All right, so that really was a powerful statement there. Very much appreciate him for those statements. I know you want to end on a high note, but there's one more thing that I gotta point out. Is it not a conflict of interest for the mayor to be on the board for Salvation Army? Like, to me, it's like, well, I can see why you would gush about what a great job they're doing and yada yada yada. How are you critical? How can you be critical of an entity that you're on the board for?
Yeah, I don't know.
And really push them to do more, right?
But back to the positive side.
Okay.
Because I very rarely go there. I don't know. I try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for pulling me out.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I just think it's so the voice of this community is pretty unified that we want to do something on the care end. We want to lean into love as opposed to punishment, right? We want to try going away from the whole let's criminalize people and force and all that, and let's move towards something different that's positive and helps everybody. And what can a community like that do? I mean, that to me is pretty exciting. If we can keep harnessing that, I don't know. To me, that's a positive thing.
It is. Thank you for pulling me out, and you almost made me spit my water out. So. Thank you for that, Jeff.
And so for the rest of the stuff we have, I don't know if you want to go into the whole security or law and order discussion, or we're running long, or okay.
No, we're good. Let's keep on going.
Okay.
So,
general
this next part.
Yeah, general business, I guess, is the next part I can run through really quick. Yeah. So they had a long discussion of the Public Works and the 11th Street and Perry Avenue reconstruction project. There's a clip. You can probably just drop that in. We don't need to watch it probably, but just the politics of potholes, I call it. People arguing about, well, how come our streets aren't getting fixed? How come what are all these big capital projects that are getting? Anyways, it's an interesting discussion. And lots of detail on streets and sidewalks and stuff.
Let's play a little. I think it's
Okay.
again, it is important, and
Okay.
it's where our money's going or not going, and
Okay.
Put a little bit of this on.
So I'm disappointed to hear we have a $2.5 million surplus. We can discuss that in public works. That hasn't been utilized. First of all, Mike, am I wrong in my describing the history of that? Is there...
Not just the taxpayers, but the voters. And I'm sorry that I haven't spoken to every single one of you, my colleagues, but I know that in Jennifer's district and in Jeff's district, that potholes and paint are exactly what people want. It's the number one thing. You knock on their doors and what do they say? I want these potholes fixed. They want sidewalks, failing sidewalks. They want just something to give an idea of where the lane edge is.
So again, my understanding is there is a mechanism to replace the funding. It just will take 2 years. And so I don't know if Councilman Younger was proposing that we look at the surplus at the end of the year and put it back in immediately, or we just wait for the mechanism that replaces it at $650K a year for the next 2 years. I wanted to quick.
So it's been legislated this way because working with the current administration and the past administration, they wouldn't put adequate funds towards streets every budget. So we wrote the ordinance this way to get the administration to fix our local streets. There's a simple solution. We can pass this, but Mike, you can write a loan. The state borrows the money from the TBD funds or the residential street funds, and it pays it back. You can put a 2-year time payment, 3-year, and where do you get those funds? You get it from future REAP money. You need to honor the taxpayers and what these card cabs were for. This is extremely frustrating. Extremely frustrating.
All right, Denise. Now, what we're trying to do right now is probably a practice that we feel should already be allowed for the administration to do. What we're asking you to do tonight should be allowed. But we didn't want to get into that conversation. We just wanted this one-time conversation. And in the future discussion is to loosen up the legislative fixes that have gone on. We're on the same page. Councilor Younger said they had to force the administration to make this a priority. That's untrue. That's right, we made it a priority. And so, Councilor Goodnow, I just want to say we're with you. It's a priority for us. So,
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nick, I would say for me, and I know I speak for at least a couple others, that I'd like the administration, when you present the budget, please put some of this back. Okay? So I think, I don't want to hear about surpluses if we're not putting some of that back in here. How do we feel about consent?
Okay, so a little background on this. So they found $2 million. Somehow they found $2 million somewhere, and they said, "Oh, well, let's just put this onto this project." And the city council was, "Well, what about all our streets?" Because the thing is that's what city council they always run on, right? They run on streets and sidewalks. That's the bread and butter issue for a city council member in Bremerton, or you'll hear it over and over again. But they're not even getting their pothole fixed. So where's the money going? I don't know. So they're pushing for more say in how the money's being spent, and then once again the mayor's pushing back and saying, "Get out of our business! I run this city. Get your legislative nose out of my business." And I think you're seeing that a lot this year, and I think that's good because I think opening up the process and more transparency and more conversation and more people speaking about these issues is a good thing. I understand if you're running a city, it's probably a little harder. But anyway, so that was an interesting conversation.
And there's definitely a need. There are some horrible streets here in Bremerton that really. I was telling you offline, I used to live, at the top of Italy. So I will always drive through Manette, like almost on a daily basis. And some of those streets are horrific. And I'm surprised I didn't get a busted tire. I would have to avoid some streets. And so if you're living down there or you have a business, it's horrible. It's horrible.
All right. That's that. Public Safety Committee was interesting. The Public Safety Committee was just brought back into being this year. And it's basically a way for the city council to have a committee meeting to focus on public safety issues. So police, fire, the attorney general's office, not the attorney, I'm sorry, the city attorney's office, prosecutor's office. I'm not sure what they're called, but anyways, so they had this interesting discussion though about just law and order with the police chief that I thought was illuminating and interesting.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
Okay.
Oh, you can finish your thought. Finish your thought.
Yeah, no, that was it.
Oh, okay.
I feel like, and I need to just kind of like, I'm always going to state that there's a little bit of a conflict of interest that I have, like my son and my partner work in the clouds. But my goodness, Chief Wolf, can you give us an update? Is it at the point of becoming? I just keep seeing these reports, and and people love posting your BPD newsletter clips about the clouds. That's the one people seem to post on social media all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious what the state of that property is.
Well, I think I believe that they are cooperating in a way that's helpful now. Their owner, and a lot of times you run into this where the owners talk a good game, but they don't want to spend any money to do anything. And I don't know as though the owner's even on site when a lot of this goes on. One of the major problems we had the previous week is now in jail. The guy that was involved in the shooting up on the east side the other day that we scooped up, he was causing problems up there the previous weekend. And that guy is a major problem. So having him gone helps. So hopefully it won't continue. We've sent stuff off to the Navy, and I think they're considering about making it off limits. Because if you keep getting the same volatile mixture of, and some of it is not even McLeod's fault. You've got people parking, a couple blocks away, drinking a whole bunch of alcohol, and then coming on into their establishment already drunk.
And if you grew up in, spent your early adulthood in Bremerton when there was night shift and the El Camino, this has been notorious. Navy guys and regular residents going at it.
Really?
Oh man, this is like every military town in USA. So this isn't a new phenomenon.
Huh.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. This is a.
Oh man, a new boat comes in and they all come in and pilot. Oh man, yeah, it's crazy.
Huh.
But that's where the staff there has to recognize it and kick them out, and not, you got to stop it before it gets going when it's out of control. So.
Yeah, and I used to do Lyft and the big pickups and drop-offs and go-betweens. You can guess the two places, the garage and the clouds, right? So just constantly back and forth. And I could see how it could be a situation where things get past staff real easy because it's so crazy and crowded. I mean, I've definitely seen bigger crowds, but the energy, and maybe it's a local versus Navy type of energy too. I don't know, but there's a lot of energy. I guess that's the best way I can put it without being,
That is some of it, and I'm glad that, again, being a Lyft driver, like she's a part of the community, so she understands the dynamics. I have a lot of respect for that. Another thing, not just the Navy and, kind of combating with residents. Another issue is that there isn't a lot of nightlife here in Kitsap County. So, I mean, this city shuts down at 8:30. That's when our buses stop, right? Most restaurants are closing at 9, 10 p.m. So if there's something that's open after hours, folks are going to flock to it. And there's been a big push to close these things down. We had the Sandpiper in Silverdale. We had a jazz spot here down in Bremerton, around the corner. From Salvation Army, they would have all these different flavored chicken wings and blue crab gumbo, certain special times. All these things are gone because you get everyone coming to be there. And, so nightclubs do really get a bad rap, unfortunately. There are a lot of people that just want to go out, dance and drink responsibly and have a good time. And you're going to have this element, everywhere, unfortunately. And I just wish there was a way that, again, the city and community can partner and really kind of get rid of that, the toxic element, so folks can have a good time, right? Because that it is really important and necessary.
too discreet.
And I'm not a nightclub person, by the way. Just to point that out there.
Yeah, I just was kind of wanting to check in on that. I might ask you again if there's an update in a few months, because it just feels like every weekend there's some new horrible report about McLeod's and some violence that's happening, and it's gotten danger more and more. I don't know if it's gotten more and more dangerous, but it feels like it's ramping up. Like the violence is ramping up to more frequent than it was this time last year.
And you also need to look at the fact that we saw the exact same thing when COVID started. They started opening back up the community. Folks acting crazy in airplanes and grocery stores, and I mean, all of this stuff translates. So things that are already that element that already would exist is just going to increase exponentially, and so that's what you're seeing too. So again, you have to look at it through a lens of fairness, I believe, in this regard. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jeff?
Well, yeah. As the conversation goes on, Jennifer asks about data, and have you seen? So I of course went and looked, because that's what I do with data. And so I compared the first 6 months of last year to the first 6 months of this year in terms of how many incidents there were on. They don't have it specifically for McLeod's, but they have it for Wheaton Way. And there has been a big jump in incidents on the Wheaton Way corridor, like 60% or something jump. But it isn't violence. It's all property theft. It's shoplifting. It's economic crimes, I would say. So there doesn't seem to be the data that supports a big jump in violence, although clearly when you have people pulling guns, that's a problem in itself. So however many times it happens. But
well, and then too, depending on what side you are on this argument, we're decriminalizing many of these crimes, right? Like victimless crimes or crimes that are from the genesis of drug use. So you break into a house, you steal something. And so if you're not locking folks up for these crimes, then these crimes are going to increase because they're available to do it. So yeah, I'm not here to have a conversation about what's right or wrong. Do you decriminalize or do you find another way? Clearly, obviously, if there were livable wages and affordable housing, then folks wouldn't need to do that, or the percentages would be a lot smaller. So we need to address the actual, disease and not the symptoms of our, community issues. But just something else that was interesting that I wanted to point out.
And along the drug line, so so the police cannot arrest people for possession anymore. I may have this I don't know if I have this completely right, but I do know that people are not getting arrested anymore for doing drugs in public. And so that's totally, the police are backed off on that completely, which is good, I think. But as a community, we got to come up with something else, right? I keep thinking if treatment was available as available as anything else, right, that there'd be more people going to treatment, or maybe not. And even the people who don't want treatment, we got to come up with an alternative, whether it's safe injection sites, something that's medically directed. We need to just pull the police off of the problem and say, let it go. I think that's a little irresponsible. We need to come in with some health care behind that to say, let us help you do your drugs safely if you're doing, I don't know, different approaches that are more medically oriented. But anyways.
Well, I mean, since we're here, let's have the conversation a little bit. So, because for me, and again, these are hard issues. So I don't want to, put out there that it sounds like, oh, these guys are just whatever, horrible. I don't know what the solution to this issue is. But if you decriminalize drug use and you're making it okay, so we got a place to dispose your needles. You're not arresting folks that are openly doing drugs in public. Then how do you stop the problem? So are you going harder at those that are dealing drugs?
I don't think so. Like I think you lean into the medical end. So you set up areas where people can safely do drugs with medical professionals, and those medical professionals can ideally direct them towards less harmful drugs and medications. It's interesting what years back, I worked at the Harvard anyway, the heart, what was it? I can't even say it anymore. But the ones who developed the medicines over there, but they did a big study into addictions, and they had a guy that was really saying it's a medical addiction. It's directing people towards the right chemicals that serves them and causes them the least harm. And so I feel like once people are addicted, it is a medical issue. And so they should get their drugs for free, some sort of medication for free from a medical person. And if you were to do that, then the drug dealers kind of take care of themselves, because they lose their they lose their base, right? Because if you don't have your addicts, you've just got the new people, and then once I don't know. Ideally, once somebody is addicted, I think they move into a medical realm of some sort, and so that's how we have to. I don't think you're ever gonna be able to get rid of drugs with force, but I don't know.
Right, but if you decriminalize it, which is what's been done, and then you're not going after drug dealers, then how do you make that not accessible for folks that go from either casual users or what do they call it, functional alcoholics? I don't know, it's the functional drug use, right? I use meth, but I'm still going to work and supporting my family and doing what I have to do. But then it gets to a point where now it's an addiction and I lose everything. I mean, how do you fix that? Because it seems like, okay, we're addressing again the symptom on the end, but we're not addressing the big piece here in the middle or at the start, so that folks don't get to this point, right? It's like, oh, well, let's just build a net to catch them once they fall. But it's like, can we keep them from falling in the first place?
Yeah, and to me, it comes back to universal health care, right? If we had universal health care, then a lot of these problems would go away, because people would be dealing, hopefully, with the medical issues that drove them to I don't know. I'm not an addiction specialist, and I don't know all the medical side of it.
But that's what I mean. Like, it's not necessarily a medical issue that drove them to addiction. It was they couldn't pay for their housing. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I mean, who gets addicted and who doesn't? The whole thing, like alcohol. I mean, that's the biggest addiction problem that we have, right? But then again, I would
what
say
makes
that
you
most
decide to use it in the first place?
Right. And I drink, and I don't usually get drunk. Those days have passed. And yeah, like you said with the clubs, that I can't even stay up for a 10 o'clock show anymore. It's just really embarrassing. Like, it starts at 10. I can't make it. But I think that decriminalizing, you've got to have something. You've got to double down on the care side. If you're, I don't think the punishment side is going to work. I don't think punishing drug dealers is going to work. I don't think any of that's going to work. But I think that meeting people where they are and helping them from a care perspective, I think has been shown to be more effective, right?
Well, I don't know, because the byproduct of that is when the user can't afford the drugs, then they need to do B&Es and other things in order to get the money to keep their.
I don't know, and I don't know how true that is either. We hear that, but I don't know, because I also hear the drugs have gotten really cheap, so it's like.
Yeah, but you just quoted a stat of Wheaton Way and the crime increasing by 60%.
Yeah,
and it's not violent.
But to say that's all drug users, it may be more families raiding the grocery stores for food they can't afford. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that it's drug addicts or just hungry people that are shoplifting now. Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's a fascinating discussion.
Yeah,
These are the conversations that need to be had, right? Like,
I agree.
So what is it? What are the catalysts? Is there a correlation or causation? Like, we need to look at all these things and talk about it and try to find the solution. I just feel like, yes, right now what you're saying makes sense, right? We got to create a big net to catch those that fall, and that's harm reduction and everything else. I'm in support of that, but we also have to have an eye on. So how do we catch people from falling?
How to stop people from doing drugs in the beginning? You mean,
or getting to that point where that's the outlet that I have to self-medicate to get through, trying to make it in America, whatever they're going through. And that's a whole bigger conversation. Body positivity. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many different catalysts.
And brain
but,
chemicals and everything. Yeah.
But livable wages, affordable housing, all of these things I
All
think
that helps, I'm
are
sure.
big contributors to that. And so I believe that if we address some of those larger issues, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy and we address, food and shelter and safety, that those numbers would decrease fundamentally and would be easier to help those that fall under, medical conditions of, you get a lot of high schoolers or college students that try drugs in their party years and they're fine. They use it, they're done, or they never, gateway to another drug or whatever the case may be. Then we can really, get to it. But again, just addressing the symptoms and not the actual disease, I think
it's almost like addiction is part of life that we all have to go through, whatever it is. Like for me, it was nicotine. That was a huge addiction, and it was killing me, and it took me years to get over. And now I feel like sugar. I feel like sugar is a pretty harsh addiction that's harming people. And why? Yeah, and I don't know. It's how do we get us back on the track for this show, though?
Fascinating. But this is part of it.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because it's not just, the Civic Second isn't just housing. So, I want to make sure that we give other elements of, the city council and the
I would love to have somebody from Civic Survival or some other groups.
Oh, I could work on that.
Yeah, I was feeling like I'm not the expert to talk on law and order issues. But yeah, I think that would be cool.
I'm talking to someone from there right now, so I'll send him an email.
That would be cool. I think. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So let's jump back on there. Do you want me to play more of this, or did we kind of exhaust this conversation?
Yeah. No, I think we did, and I think the main point that I heard from the chief is that businesses, again, for McLeod's, it's again for bars and stuff. His answer is, he says they need to hire their own security. Stop relying on the police for protecting their property. And I don't know, that strikes me as weird because and it seems like most police officers work part-time, so they make a lot of money as part-time security. And so if the police chief's saying, well, you can hire my guys for a little extra on the side, is that a protection racket? I don't know. Is that I'll probably get in big trouble for saying that, but I mean, where's the line, right? Well, if you pay me a little extra money, we'll be happy to keep your property safe. I don't know. But
they're off duty in that regard, though, right? So that's kind of a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Let me put up the G2 disclaimer there, since we don't necessarily agree with what Jeff is saying right now.
I agree. Okay. But on to these. Okay, and this is the picture. So this was from KIRO TV station, I think. And these were the two guys, and I was those are the. So you got one guy hanging out of a car with a gun, and you got another guy that looks like a security guard, but he wasn't a security guard. He's just, I don't know, but he's also got a gun. Guns are a problem, I have to say.
Are we open carry here?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yes. Which
I think I've seen people in Walmart with guns on them. So,
and that means that anybody can carry a gun as long as it's out in the open, right? I think. I'm not sure.
As far as I know, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know the rules on that.
Yeah.
We might have to do a show on that.
Yeah. But
know the laws.
But yeah, so it's wondering, and I don't know. So there was this shooting, and 200 people were involved in a brawl out there, and he goes into that in that clip too, about how the police, they're not going to wade into stuff anymore. They're waiting till they have a huge force to go in there and overwhelm situations. Otherwise, they're waiting till they go in. And
is that what he said?
Yeah, maybe you do want to watch the rest of it.
That's scary. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, how much longer is it? It's not that much longer.
So I thought Jeff would be joining us.
Oh, hold on. Oh, you know what? I might have. No, it's there. Okay. We're only at 25% of the way through here.
And then you add to it kind of the national narrative of don't cooperate with the police. You don't have to
like this
obey
part.
the law. You don't have to listen to the police. We have a lot of just kind of an overall lawless attitude. You probably see it on the roadways. You've probably seen a lot of cars with no license plates. You've watched some of the motorcycles go by at night.
Want to enlarge it
50
there.
miles an hour, and there's this it's kind of twofold. You've got a whole bunch of people that are supporting us like I've never seen in my career. I mean, people coming up and saying, "Oh my gosh, thank you for what you do," calling up, sending us notes like I've never seen. And then the other side of it is when you get in a crowd like that, just this whole even at the high school at some of the basketball games this year. I mean, 14-year-old girls just openly confronting authority like we've never seen before, and they're under the misguided idea that they can do that they're allowed to just flagrantly, just ignore law and order. And so some of that we hand back to the school district to deal with and just say, they're yours, you deal with them. Or find someone else to do security for you. We're not going to do this anymore. Because it just doesn't rise to a level where we need to be involved. And there's just a no-win at some point for the city and the police department. But when it comes to McLeod's, it is, we work really hard to work with the owner to start with.
That's interesting because some of the students were talking about having locked bathrooms. So is that what happened is like the police pulled out and just said, "Hey, you guys deal with it." And so the school district's like, well, we'll just lock the bathrooms in since we don't have, police on staff.
I don't know. And what happened to
Wow,
bathroom?
interesting.
What happened to being able to go to the bathroom in this world, in this city? It's just like, oh my goodness, that's like a high privilege now. I don't know. I felt when I was listening to the other high school students, I was like, oh my God, I would have never made it through high school. I did not have respect for authority. I would have been in big trouble.
I'm gonna have to follow back up with that and see because again, causation correlation. So is that what happened? The police pulled out, and then it's like, well, the schools are like, well, we can't pay for security. We're just gonna lock down the bathrooms because we don't have them to. Wow, interesting. Okay.
And if we start getting the sense that we're not getting any help from the owner, then we go other routes. We get liquor control. They come in, they put people in there to see if they'll overserve, if they'll serve underage people. We've talked to the fire department about capacities and fire issues. We talked to the military about making it off limits.
And see, I like that solution-oriented approach to it, right? It's like, look, don't overserve, right? Card, make sure you're not, serving minors. Make sure that you're at capacity. It's like, hey, you can't come in, right? If there's that many people, I don't know if McLeod's has a 200-person capacity or not. But yeah, these are things that can help mitigate that. When the alcohol is flowing, that's typically when bad things begin to happen.
And I didn't realize that the Navy can declare someplace off limit for them. That was interesting to me. Yeah, I could see where that could have a big effect on businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, man, they must make hand over fist on their ladies' night and things like that. I'll continue.
Bring in the state patrol, and we start picking off all the drunks leaving there. And there's lots of different ways you go about it. And the whole purpose though is public safety, because if one
and see, that's tough too, right? Again, I'm not for drinking and driving. I'm 100% with that. But there's an entrapment piece to that I feel like, okay, so I go to the bar, they overserve me, knowing what it's personal responsibility. I know it's
one kid gets killed up there, that's one too many. And predictable is preventable. So if we can do everything we can to make it well known that that's just not a place to go be a fool, go have fun. It's one of the only nightclubs in driving this, easy driving distance for people in Silverdale, Bremerton area. Don't make it a bad thing. Mm-hmm. So, and then as the bar starts to establish who the problem people are, and they start to trespass people and just, they have whole pictures of people that, you're not welcome here anymore. The word gets out. Sometimes they'll change their music menu to kind of dissuade things depending on what their plans are.
I know. Yeah, I know about that too. My partner.
There's some cultural elements to that, but I won't go into that.
Works all night, and I works until closing. And sometimes they will, when the energy's crazy, they'll turn the lights on early. Things like that. I just was thinking more about if I were to see the data, if I were looking at a data chart, right, on the number of incidences that have occurred in a 12-month period, it just, and I don't know, there's always, reasons why, more people get picked off if you have a particular emphasis in that space. then there's going to be more, there's going to be more citations, more, incidents, recorded. But
and you also did some data on who gets arrested, and that is very fascinating too, right? So when folks are leaving the club and they get pulled over, who's getting pulled over, and is it disproportionate? So that another time, but I can see playing portions of this video again in the near future.
It just feels like, and maybe it's just a general atmosphere in Bremerton that there's rising incidences of violence, and so that's what I'm curious is because causation or correlation doesn't always equal causation, right?
I think over the history of Bremerton, we've always had that bar. As far back as, it was McLeod's over on Perry Avenue. Before that, it was Castaways. Before it was Castaways, it was Noodles. It was the Night Shift Tavern. It was Sinclair's. It was for the longest time, it was the El Camino down on Callow, which then is now at Chet's Place. Then the Garage, then not the Garage. The Garage they made some big changes out at the Garage.
Tell me about the changes they made that helped improve their atmosphere, so to speak.
I don't know. I specifically don't know what they did. It suddenly we just weren't having the problems out there like we were, and I have a feeling it was their staff clamped down on who was getting. I mean, we still have fights and we still have problems out there. And remember, when it's a bar and it spills out, it's not just one or two officers. It's typically the shift that's going, and then a few county and a few state patrol too. Because now the last incident we had at McLeod specifically, because of how we had people in the crowd pulling at the officer. I mean, one of my officers has scratches up and down his arm from one of the females because he was arresting one of the guys, and one of the females came over and was literally attacking the officer. We've made it very clear we're not wading into that mess again. We're going to wait until we have enough people, and then we'll move in and take care of it. So people get hurt during that time frame, but our officers are not going to get hurt.
So please, and I'm talking to you, a lot of you that watch me, and I know you personally, be careful when you're out there because you can get into the thick of something, and the police aren't coming until they can come in overwhelming numbers. So you could be in a very dangerous situation that you cannot get out of. So govern yourselves accordingly. Please be careful. Please be careful.
Because it's just too dangerous. So, and we've had that over the history with different places. El Camino was one of them where we would wait until we had at least a dozen or more officers on scene, and then we would move in as a group and start arresting people that were still causing problems. We just do them one at a time instead of getting into a big melee. And it's safer for us. It's safer for the people we're arresting.
Absolutely.
And then if we have to do that kind of stuff, then we just shut the establishment down for the night too. And we tell them, yeah, you're done. And that hurts their bottom line. They don't want to get there. So.
Well, you know how those owners are all about the bottom line. I'm sure they don't want to see the Navy personnel have to go away. And so I was just curious. I mean, I guess it's not really our job to do technical assistance with owners. I was just kind of wondering if they ever, made connections in that way.
We've had meetings up there with the owner and ongoing. The operations lieutenant and captain are up there talking to them. And
is there a set of best practices that is there a resource?
Oh yeah, the liquor control. Yeah,
okay.
they come in and they have all of that, and especially for bars that are kind of notorious or out of control. And then other times, some of it is too is we keep telling people is everybody wants your police department to be their private security, and it doesn't work that way. They as you know, you get these complaints as a council person. Well, why don't the police come and do this for my private property? And it's like, well, that's not what we're here for.
I wonder if they look at it as their private security because many off-duty officers are working as their security. So they do look at them as their private security. Then it just creates this relationship where it's like, hey, man, come on, help us out here. In that regard, I do think it's on the business because now we're diverting our police to, expend more time and effort on these particular businesses where they still need to be out patrolling and protecting and serving the rest of the community. So I do agree with them there, listening to the whole clip. Like, yeah, this is the cost of you doing business. You've got a nightclub. You need to pay for security, and you definitely shouldn't be over serving people.
Yep.
Go ahead. You got a counterpoint to that?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's there's gray areas, and I think one of the gray areas is the is the parking lot owned by Diamond Parking on MLK Street. I don't know that is Diamond Parking's responsibility to run people off. I don't know, but for most, but I do see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying.
Well, but I think that's a different thing, right?
Yeah, I
so
think
we're
so
talking
too.
about a nightclub that's making money
Right.
off of
Right.
pulling people in, and they're like creating the element. Diamond Parking isn't creating that
Right.
element,
I would agree
right?
with that. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Salvation Army is down there, the rescue mission is down there.
Yeah.
That is the hub for services for folks that are experiencing homelessness. So that's why it is, Diamond Parking and to do with that. So yes, the city
Yeah.
and the
Yeah, but if
should
you're
be
throwing a
more
big
involved
Raven concert thing, yeah, I think you should probably have your own security. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
fascinating.
Don't hire bikers though, because I saw Altamont, that movie, and that goes really bad. Just kidding. Oh, I should no joke about bikers, but go ahead.
Or there's not enough of us to do it. If your business is having this problem, hire private security. And like Diamond Parking, we got into it with one of them recently, and it was, well, that's a service that the city just doesn't provide. But I know in Seattle for a fact that you have security people that work in your parking lots. Why don't you hire them here also? If you want that kind of atmosphere in your parking lot for your customers, then provide it.
And to be fair to him, I've spent I used to live in Seattle for a long time, and so Diamond and many other parking lots do have hired security. I don't know if this is a subsidiary and it's a private owner that franchises it or whatever the case may be. But in this scenario, I think there's again an ability for partnership. This is just kind of pointing the blame, right? It's the city. No, it's private business. It's like, no, it's all of us. Let's all find a solution here. I think this is a different thing.
It's not the city that's footing that bill. So that's something that we encourage people to is, you need more security.
Yeah. Well, the liquor board has best practices for how establishments can make their place safer. Okay. Thank you for the update. I was just kind of wanting to check in on that. I mean, it's not just social media. I hear about it weekend nights when my partner, gets off work. I hear about, oh, there's another fight. Oh, there's this. But he doesn't always see it because he's in the back. He keeps out of the,
Well, he's smart.
Oh, yeah, he's not security. No, he.
Yep, stay on the line of fire. So.
That's right. So it's like.
Stay on the line of fire. That's a scary statement.
Yeah. So anyways,
let's continue there.
Yeah. So that's the security discussion, and again, there's the pictures. And then, so I guess we can move on to another bit of sad story. So, and here, so this is at the last city council meeting, the city council went into executive session, which is when they can go off the record and discuss things out of view of the public. And what they were discussing was really cracking down on nuisance properties. My sense is that this is the first step to, getting I don't know if they can confiscate the properties, but this is the next legal step to get these people out of these properties, I think. And one of them I know, it's right here over on 6th Street, and they've been trying to get this. John, person who owned it was John, and he just died recently. He spent most of his time over at the Salvation Army, and
that was a good dude. He was a cool guy.
You knew him too. Okay, yeah, he was really cool. But so there's these properties, and I'll let you listen to the tape about them. And one of them's just an empty lot. So I don't know why an empty lot would be a nuisance, but I don't know where that is. But yeah, so if you want to play the tape, and what strikes me about this is I just, we hear nuisance properties and this and that, but it sounds bad, and zombie properties, but from what I understand, a lot of these are just, they're old people, they're elderly people, they're people who have some mental health problems. Again, it's the same people. They're going to end up out of their homes and on the streets because, and I don't know, I just feel like I wish I don't know. I would like to find out if there's something more that we could do for the people who own these properties, and just look into it more.
So are these 6 properties the ones that
Yes.
they're targeting? Okay.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear this. I actually missed this Wednesday,
Ah.
so this will be the first time I've heard this piece.
And it's
So,
dry.
yeah.
It's like Hannah Arendt talked about the banality of evil, right? It's like, all right, well, let's vote on taking care. I don't know. It's so I don't know, administrative. It's like, all right, but you can watch the video.
Yeah, let's play it. Remind me to tell a cool story about John.
All right, I call the meeting back to order and call upon the city attorney to read the motion.
Thank you, President Goodnow. So the motion would be moved to authorize the city attorney to initiate and pursue any necessary litigation and take any other necessary actions to abate any and all nuisance and code violations on properties located at 1138 North Callow Avenue, 426 South Lafayette Avenue, 827 6th Street, 1569 Thompson Drive, 3811 9th Street, and 2120, 2116, and 2010 East Finney Bay Drive in Bremerton, Washington.
All right, Councilmember Denny.
So moved. Second.
And thank you, Councilmember Kaufman. We have a motion and second. I call for the question.
Councilmember Dennehy,
Yes.
Mockler,
Yes.
Younger,
Yes.
Chamberlain,
Respectfully abstain.
Fry,
Yes.
Coughlin,
Yes.
Goodnow.
Yes.
Motion carries 6 yeses, 1 abstention.
So,
all right.
I got in trouble guessing why someone abstained from one of these votes, but I think it's interesting that that Jennifer Chamberlain did abstain from this vote. I would be curious to find out why. But anyways, what do you think about that whole?
So, my first thought is this: one, the Denny's on Wheaton Way, the Sizzler on Wheaton Way. There are these huge buildings that have been sitting here for more than a decade that are just dilapidated. That could be, things can be done with them, and I wonder why it's so easy. Well, I know why it's so easy to go after, homeowners first, because they're just a homeowner, right? Their resources are already limited. But the owner of Sizzler has attorneys and probably other properties that are being used, and well, they're city partners, so we're not exactly going to go after them. We're going to continue to let them line item depreciate it and get a tax credit from it every year. It's very frustrating. And saddened to see that they're going after these folks first. Elizabeth in the chat says normalizing evictions through process instead of finding approaches to assist folks to stay in their homes, or folks to stay in their homes. Repairs, support. Can we normalize supporting people? Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Because again, you're just creating the problem. So you take their property, you give it to either a private equity firm or one of these other homeowners that own 250 properties, and just builds their coffers up instead of repairing it and allowing them to stay in their homes. Yeah, it's very, very frustrating.
So yeah, I would like to hear much more about this, and I hope we can get more of a community discussion going about what's going on with these nuisance homes, as they call them.
Well, and I look at things like, okay, there's utility assistance through KCR, there's weatherization programs through KCR. It's like, all right, so if these are a problem, you can see these are older homes. Well, why not go in and help them to weatherize, to provide that utility assistance? I know John, for a while, they didn't have running water in there, and I don't think they had electricity. So support that so that they can keep the water and the electricity going, and I'm sure if there was partnership going on, there would have been folks that would have come in There can be hoarding in some of these situations, and come in and declutter it, and make it safer, and allow people to continue to exist in their spaces. And John was allowing other folks to stay there, and folks were in their car in front of there. So I mean, he was providing housing, the entire time. So why not find ways to support when people are doing it in their own way? Is my thought on that. So there's 6 properties, and where are these folks going?
Right.
It's very likely they can't afford to go into senior living or assisted living. So once they're gone, they're gone. They're gone. And if they're, as you were saying before, the gentleman who was incontinent, right? Well, now you're out in the street and you don't have any support. Very dehumanizing. So yeah, why not find ways to support that? Create a program where, oh hey, folks don't have a livable wage. They're getting evicted. Well, maybe we can do. You know how you have host families for international students? Maybe we create a host family program, and you put a housing manager in there like they do for the clean and sober living. And it's just like, find solutions. Think about different solutions.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
That's my thought on that.
Did you have a good uplifting story about John again?
Oh, so story about John. So when pre-COVID, we were serving at the New Horizon Ministries, shout out to them. And I was telling you before, we get these big, huge salmons from the tribe, and we'd brine them, smoke them, and serve them. And so John would come in, and he had some dietary needs, right? And so he couldn't have a bunch of sugar. And so we had to change the juice for John. And it's just one of those, it was a good lesson for us, because oftentimes I'll hear, oh, folks should just be happy that someone's giving them some food, right? And I was like, no, they have dietary issues also. And so we had to modify that. And John was the reason why we did that. Because it's like, oh yeah, they'll love this nice, sugary sweet tea. And it's like, no, man, I can't have that. And then I think he also had some issues on what he could chew. So we had to, we started cooking certain foods for folks, because there is an elder population of folks experiencing homelessness or food insecurity. Everybody wasn't homeless that were coming to eat. And so it changed our menu because of that. So and he was a great dude. He'd come in and just chat you up and talk and just have a good time. So yeah, John was a good guy.
All right. Upcoming meetings for the week. I guess we can jump to.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's see.
So this is Wednesday, August 10th.
Yeah, so this Wednesday is the City Council study session. And there is no public comment, but it is, they do it through Zoom, and I don't think it's on BCAT though. The other thing coming up this week is they're having an arts committee meeting also on Wednesday. And then on the August 3rd, Thursday, is the REACT meeting. And I hope people can show up for that REACT meeting. It could really use a lot more voices, I think.
Absolutely. And I'm going to drop the chat. We will be covering REACT here on the Conduit. So you see on the ticker below, subscribe, like, and share, and hit the bell so you get alerts every time that we go live. If you've been a subscriber for a while and you haven't been getting alerts, unsubscribe from the channel and resubscribe, right? So these conversations do tend to get you shadow banned on YouTube. And so one of my board members had to do that. He's like, look, man, I'm not getting the alerts. And you see Rob in there where he's always saying, hey, good morning, gentlemen. Sound and audio is good. And he's like, I don't get alerts. And so it's really important to make sure just from time to time to unsubscribe and resubscribe so you don't miss it. But in the chat there is the link to REACT. They need people to be a part of REACT. My hope is that you would get involved in that. If we're going to make changes, we've covered it before. It almost sounds like they want to dismantle race equity committee and just call it the equity committee. And so we need voices that are on there. Unfortunately, you do have to be in the city of Bremerton. This has been I'm actually going to do a conversation on this later, not today, but there are a lot of us that are here in the Bremerton area that need to support, and we complain when we don't like how things are going. But if you're not going to be a part of making your voice heard, then you can't expect for things to change. And so that's really important. You put something in the chat here.
Yeah, that's a link that'll actually take you to the Facebook group where we're discussing housing issues. So I want to urge people to join the discussion on housing in Bremerton. Let's talk affordable housing discussion group on Facebook, and the link is just easier for me to remember, so I set it up.
Nice. bpovotes.org.
Yeah. I had that for something else a while ago, so I thought I can remember it. So anyways.
You know what's nice about that too, Jeff, is again, we have to create spaces for the diversity of thought, for the ideas to come up, right? And that there's power in that too. I think you had like over 200 people in your group.
Yeah, it keeps growing.
Yeah, and that's a thing that can be taken to city council and other people too. Like, look, it's not just me saying this, right? There's 200 other people that feel the same way. They're not all gonna come. It's not practical for 200 people to speak at a city council meeting. But look, this is how we're thinking. Please solve these issues, and we want to help to solve them. So absolutely, I'm going to give you the final word.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, please get out, attend the meetings, use your voice, and that's it.
All right. Well, I hope everyone has enjoyed this episode of the Civic Second. This is, man, I just didn't like this kind of stuff when I was younger. It's pretty awesome now, and it's important. It affects you, right? It affects my daughter. Affects my friends and family. I want us all to be safe and to have the things that we need. And so get involved. There's a space for everyone. We're working on trying to get a mentorship program going for kids. So if you have a kid that wants to be involved, if you're a kid that wants to be involved, a youth, I'm not supposed to use the word kid, that wants to be involved, reach out to us. And if you want to be a part as an adult in supporting that and bringing the information, data, whatever the case may be, all are welcome. So please reach out to us. But for Jeff Campbell, I am Marwan Cameron. This is the Civic Second on the Conduit. We'll see